The right to due process is a bedrock American principle, and in his first 100 days, Donald Trump is shredding the Constitution of the United States. He's violated these rights in many instances, including the illegal abduction and deportation of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was snatched off the streets of Maryland while driving with his 5-year-old son, who has autism. And he was shipped to Baltimore, then Texas, and then shackled and handcuffed, put in a plane not knowing where he's going, and ended up in the notorious prison of Secot, one of the real gulags of Latin America. The Trump administration admitted in court that Abrego Garcia had been wrongfully shipped to El Salvador, and the Supreme Court, by a 9-0 vote, ordered the Trump administration to facilitate his return. You don't see 9-0 rulings out of the court very often. And of course, Donald Trump could easily bring him back by simply picking up the phone on the Resolute desk. How do we know that? Because President Trump said so himself within the last 48 hours. So we also know that the government of El Salvador is prepared to release him if they can hear from the President of the United States and they facilitate his return. How do we know that? Because when I spoke to the Vice President of El Salvador, he was very clear. He said the ball's not in El Salvador's court. The ball is in the Trump administration's court. And he said that the only reason the government of El Salvador is holding him is because the Trump administration is paying him to do so. So Donald Trump should stop trampling on constitutional rights of people who reside in America, and the government of El Salvador should stop conspiring with the Trump administration to violate the constitutional rights of those who reside in America, including Abrego Garcia and others. President Bukele and El Salvador are complicit in this illegal scheme. This is a cash for collusion deal. Not surprisingly, Donald Trump chose President Bukele as his co-conspirator in this effort. President Bukele has referred to himself as the world's, quote, coolest dictator. When I traveled recently to El Salvador, I met with many Salvadorian human rights groups who described the gross violations of human rights and due process in El Salvador by President Bukele and his government. And the 2023 State Department Human Rights Report found that in Bukele's prisons, there were credible reports of, and I'm quoting, torture and other cruel, inhuman, or degrading punishment. They went on to say in that report that that degrading, inhuman punishment includes beatings with batons, electric shocks on wet floors to shock an entire cell, overcrowding, underfeeding, and life-threatening medical neglect. That was the 2023 State Department Human Rights Report. No one can communicate with Abrego Garcia or others in those prisons of El Salvador either. Not his wife, not his mother, not his lawyer. That is a violation of international law. And yet, that is where the Trump administration dispatched this person because of an administrative error. And now we've learned that the Trump administration wants to excise those provisions from the Human Rights Report regarding prison conditions and actually give El Salvador preferential treatment. So that's why we're introducing this resolution today.